The sound of the siren was the first thing Elias remembered. It cut through the cold night like a knife, echoing off hospital walls as he stood frozen at the emergency entrance. His hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the weight of a single, brutal truth. He was too late. Minutes, just minutes, could have made the difference. But time hadn't waited. It never does. And as Elias sank onto the plastic chair outside the ward, tears stinging his eyes, a question kept ringing in his head. Why didn't I go earlier? This was the night everything changed.
This is Beyond Stories, where every story carries a lesson, and every lesson touches the heart. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that could inspire your next step. Now, let's go deeper into the story.
Elias had always treated time as if it were sand in an endless hourglass, something he could gather later, something he could replace. He lived by postponement, by delay, by "I'll do it tomorrow." He postponed dreams, he postponed opportunities, and worst of all, he postponed people, especially his mother. She had been calling him for weeks. Soft reminders, gentle check-ins, invitations to visit. But Elias was always too busy. Work, deadlines, social commitments, excuses that sounded noble but were really just masks for poor priorities. Next weekend, Mom, I promise. Maybe after this project. Soon, just soon. But soon never came. That evening, his phone rang again. He saw the caller ID. His thumb hovered over the screen. He sighed. "I'll call her back." He didn't. Minutes later, the second call came, this time from a neighbor. This time, he picked up. "Elias, your mom collapsed. They're taking her to the hospital." Those were the words that sent him racing through traffic, heart hammering, headlights blurring. But traffic didn't care about urgency. Red lights didn't care about regret. When he arrived, breathless and soaked in sweat, the nurse only shook her head. He had missed his last chance. As he sat beside her, Elias remembered a story his mother used to tell him when he was a boy, one she repeated every time he wasted time. A miser had a lump of gold he buried in the ground. Every day he would visit it, counting nothing, using nothing, just staring. One day, a thief dug it up and stole it. The miser wailed in agony. A neighbor said, "Why cry? You never used it. Put a stone in the hole. It will serve you just as well." His mother always ended the tale with a smile. "Time is like gold, Elias. If you don't use it, it's no different from a stone in the dirt." But he never listened, not until now. Days passed after the funeral, each one heavy and silent. Elias looked around his apartment, unfinished projects, ignored hobbies, relationships fading like old photographs. Everything he kept saying he would get to later was now staring back at him. He quit making excuses. He began waking early, reconnecting with old friends, helping neighbors, finally working on the business idea he'd shelved for years. Time, once his enemy, became his currency, spent wisely. And slowly, life began to shift. One afternoon, while helping in a literacy class, Elias told the children another fable, one he'd recently rediscovered. A farmer owned a clock that stopped working. Instead of fixing it, he ignored it. Days passed, seasons changed, and he missed planting time. When harvest season came, his fields were bare.
Elias paused and said softly, "Time doesn't stop because we stop paying attention." The room went quiet. He felt the truth of his own words settle deep inside him. Months later, while mentoring at a youth program, Elias met Mara, a gentle-spirited teacher who admired how he spoke about time, loss, and change. Their conversation stretched into friendship, friendship into companionship, companionship into love. For the first time in his life, Elias didn't delay. He didn't wait for a better moment. He didn't say, "someday." He proposed. Mara said yes. They built a home grounded in presence, family dinners without phones, evening walks, intentional moments, memories created now, not promised for later. On the anniversary of his mother's passing, Elias visited her grave. He placed a fresh lily on the grass and whispered, "I finally understand, Mum. Time isn't a river we swim in, it's a tide that never turns back." As he stood there, a soft breeze brushed past him, like a gentle approval. He smiled. He was no longer the man who postponed life. This story isn't about regret, it's about awakening. We lose so much not because time is cruel, but because we assume it is abundant. What we do not use, we lose. What we delay, decays. What we take for granted eventually disappears. Time is not gold. It is worth more than gold. Gold can be earned again. Time cannot. If this story touched you, don't wait till tomorrow to change. Start now. Start small. Start with what matters. And if you want more powerful, life-changing stories like this, subscribe to Beyond Stories, where every story reminds you that as long as you are still breathing, your story is not over yet.